So I got done watching Blue Beetle, and here's my review. First things first, is it woke? No, it's not woke. The director has a chip on his shoulder, and he definitely comes across as racist at times. And there are cringe parts, but it's not woke. We do need to address the Batman thing, the whole Batman is a fascist thing from George Lopez's character. What is that about? If you follow Chris Gore, he would have told you after the trailer first came out that that was because George Lopez's character was just a conspiracy theorist. And it's true. That's all it was to it. It was a throwaway line, in a blink and you miss it moment, and there was nothing to it. It was a nothing burger. That doesn't mean I like it. I think it was stupid to put something like that in your movie, but it didn't even bring any laughs. It brought a groan, but not a laugh. And this was a groan in an almost empty theater. There was about 5 of us there. I will say, it is probably the best superhero movie to come out since probably the Batman. And I'm not just talking about DC. I'm talking about Marvel as well. Marvel hasn't put out anything good since Endgame. Now, let's get down to business. It is a heartfelt story. Truly is. Jamie Reyes is a good character. The kid who plays him is fantastic. Honestly, when the movie first started, I thought he was a little stale, a little dry. I don't know if that was the first thing they shot or what, but he definitely got better after the first couple of scenes. Not saying he's bad, I'm just saying when you first meet him, his acting is kind of dry. In fact, if I had to say there was any bad actor involved in this production whatsoever, it was the sister. I'm not trying to attack her or anything, but she just wasn't that good. In fact, she came across as more annoying than anything else. You know that family member that always inject themselves in conversations where they don't belong? That is her. And I'm sure she's a fine actress, but not for this movie. Now, it could be to the credit of everybody else around her, how good of actors they were. And she may very well be a decent actress, but not here, not surrounded by all these other people. How is the directing? Well, Angel Manuel Soto talks a lot of crap for somebody who takes from other films. He's taking shots from Iron Man, from Spider-Man. There was even a shot that looked like it came straight out of Man of Steel. And yeah, it can be hard to come up with different camera angles and stuff like that. But how many times are we going to see the Iron Man in helmet face shot get ripped off? I'm just saying. I know they were better movies, but that is something actually that needs to be pointed out. Is the fact that Blue Beetle is supposed to be DC Comics' Spider-Man / Iron Man, at least for this movie. And it's not bad. It really isn't. I didn't think I would actually like the movie, and I came out of it like, oh, okay. This is a good movie. I wouldn't mind seeing it again. I know it was greenlit during the Snyderverse, but it's not part of the Snyderverse. There are references to The Flash and Superman and a couple of others, but somehow this is not the Snyderverse, this is the Gunverse. It doesn't make sense. Is it family friendly? To an extent. There was some hardcore stereotyping going on there. A little bit of racism. There was a whole lot of cussing words for a PG-13 superhero movie. Now, I'm not normally one for cussing. I'm not normally a stickler for cussing. Don't get me wrong. But this is a superhero movie we are talking about. There was a lot of cuss words in this movie. And the majority of them took place in the last hour. There were a few chuckles. There was some laughter with George Lopez's character. And I thought I was going to hate it, but he stole the show. I think this guy who plays the Blue Beetle is actually pretty good. I want to see him continue in this role. At first, I was going to tell you this movie was refreshing in the fact that it wasn't a sympathetic villain. But then within the last couple minutes of the movie, they made the villain sympathetic, which is annoying. Because the last villain we had that wasn't sympathetic, in my opinion, was Zod. I mean, to say what you will about Man of Steel, they did Zod right. He was a military man. He had a job to do, and he was going to see it through to the end no matter what. You didn't feel sympathy for him whatsoever. They had a pretty good villain until they made him sympathetic, and he wasn't really, not for me at least. Yes, there was that whole illegal immigration allegory. I'm not going to go into detail about that because I don't want to spoil the movie. I said earlier, George Lopez's character is very funny. He stole the show, and that is true. He is, however, overpowered, and that ties into the larger problem with this world. The world is not believable, and just isn't. That is my biggest criticism of the movie. You can ignore the politics because there's not that much. That's why you can ignore it. You can ignore the politics and all the BS, but you cannot ignore the fact that the world does not feel real. Part of it is because of crappy CG. It is what it is. Second part, they didn't know what they were doing. There are some parts where they want you to think this is a boots on the ground, in the mud type of thing. But then you cross the literal train tracks, and it's a whole sci-fi scape. There's sci-fi buildings, sci-fi guns, flying ships, weird sci-fi helicopter things that aren't even supposed to be there. They couldn't tell if they wanted this to be realistic or what. You can make the argument since this company had access to alien technology, that's why they have all this futuristic stuff. However, you cannot make that argument for the full city when they didn't share their technology with everybody else in the city. And yes, Sammy Reyes, he went through a lot in this movie, both physically and emotionally. It was not that he just put on a suit and he was magically good at everything. He got his butt beat. He had to learn to work with the scarab and the costume, which does have a name. He had to learn to work with the scarab, and when he did, he started doing a little bit better when it came to fighting. If the Blue Beetle took over completely, then the action scenes took off because it was more experienced combat. Doesn't mean much because it was all CG. And a lot of the fight scenes were taken from better movies, including Dragon Ball Z, of all things. There was a full-on Goku Kamehameha moment, and I'm sitting there like, okay, we're doing this. You already have me in the seat. You already have me here. Why not? Let's just go ahead and do a, like, Super Saiyan power-up type thing. Let's go for it. Let's go for it. I'm all here. This was a heartfelt movie. It really was. I will give Angel Manuel Soto credit. He said this was about family, and it really was. Sammy couldn't have made it if it weren't for his family. Despite the fact that the director took pieces from far better material, it was still a good movie. It was still fun to watch. I miss seeing movies like this. Will you take your family to it? That depends on you. If you don't mind a little bit of cussing, then by all means, take your family. There's a few crude jokes. I'm not a stickler for it, but the kids will be too young to know what some of that is anyways. The movie isn't bad. I went into this movie thinking I would hate it. I went in with the lowest expectations possible. And here I was just enjoying myself. And I haven't done that at the theaters in a long time, to be honest. I think it was a date with my fiance. Is this movie perfect? No. It does have cringe, but it also has heart. And personal opinion, I'm a sucker for things with heart. And the heart of this movie far outweighs all the other stupidity surrounding it. So go see it with your family. Have a good time and don't worry about anybody else. That's my review for it. If you watch this movie, let me know what you think in the comments below. If you like this, please like, subscribe, and I will talk to you next time.